Welcome everybody to Blazing Bullets. Excuse me, was a bit thirsty. I don't see a lot of requests for us to review Glocks, mostly because I think they're one of the most covered things, firearms related on YouTube, but there are certain models of the Glock that I feel, people do want to see, and I believe that this is one of them. So as you might be able to tell from the title, this is a Glock 17 video, but not just any. This is actually a Gen 2 in the original box. And different from what you guys might be used to. You can see the, where is it? Glock logo right there. I looked this one up. Best I can tell, this one is late 80s. So I'm assuming that this is one of the first batches of Gen 2 G17s to come out. Not a Gen 1, but I like the Gen 2s. Actually, in some ways, more than I like the 3s or the 4s. Definitely the 3s, and some things definitely on the 4s. I'll explain that. This sticker kind of fell off, but we still have it, so... and when you... let me put something out here right now. If you guys have a gun, save the boxes. Especially, later on, say you have a gun that's collectible, you're going to wish that you had the box if you ever go to sell it. Or even if you're not going to sell it and you want to pass it down. That kind of adds to the value. So, this gun, when you were to buy it, would have come something a little like this. And there's been some changes for a reason. Let me safety check this first. Alright, we're clear. So, this gun would have come something like this. And if you're a gun guy, you can probably see one thing that's technically wrong with this already, and that is this little spot that holds the, the trigger guard. I think the reason that Glock changed up their tactics when it comes to making their boxes was the fact that people were complaining that there were some accidental discharges related to this bump here, because this gun is safe, by the way, completely safe. I'm gonna just lay this in here, cocked, and I guess I would never in a million years, and I say never because I mean never in a million years, make this mistake. But I can see how some doofus would reach in there, go to grab the gun, and possibly, somehow, I don't know how, because this kind of, this bar here kind of gets in the way, if you go to push it in. But I could see how some idiot would somehow fire away, or find a way to, set it off. I don't know. But as far as the Gen 2s go, what is up with the Gen 2s? Well, there's some things that make it different. First of all, the finish. The finish, as far as I know, the what do they call it? The Tenifer finish, which is not, contrary to popular belief, what you see on the outside. This is the surface finish. The Tenifer is the metal treatment process that goes underneath this black finish. And I don't think the Tenifer process really has ever been changed for Glock, at least until recently. They started, they have their own manufacturing plant here in the United States. Some Glocks are actually stamped USA right here. But Tenifer, that process is not allowed in the United States because I believe of certain carcinogenic byproducts of the the fumes that come off of it. But they still use it in Austria. So, but gun manufacturers in the U.S. have been using melanite, which I believe is pretty much the same thing. Glock USA made guns, or they seem a little different, but I think that has more to do with this outside finish. Now, this is a less attractive finish than some of the earlier Gen 4s. In fact, I will be right back. I need to show you guys this. I should have thought of this before the video. Whoop. Okay, so I apologize for that. That'll probably be edited out. But one thing that you'll notice about this Gen 4 Glock.23, and I'm just going to lock the slide back on the 17 for safety purposes. One of the things that you'll notice about these two guns is this one, see how it, kind of reflects on the light there? This was an earlier finish Glock. Looks a Gen 4 Glock. Looks a lot, I guess you'd say, prettier than some of the Gen 3s and stuff. But there's one problem that I have, and I think a lot of others had with it. When you would go to rack this gun, especially from the front, not so much with the serrations back here, but from the front, it's a slippery finish, especially after you get done cleaning it, even when you wipe it dry. It looks good, but in my opinion, the dull finish of this one, and I'll show you this in the light, is a little bit more abrasive, I guess. I like it better because no problem. 2 fingers, boom, can put that gun into battery. Press check it all the way. Boom, from just the front without ever getting near the rear serrations. That's a pet peeve I have. One thing that I do like, however, that's been changed from this second gen to the fourth is the grip here, the texture of the grip. You can't really see it on mine because I have it covered by Talon grips anyway, but this here, the side part of the grip is just too smooth. The rear, the back here, back strap area here, that has some texture to it. The front part of the grip right there, that has some texture to it, so that feels okay. But as far as overall, just how does it feel in my hand? Well, I can tell you, I've shot this several times and have been slacking on getting a Talon grip for it. And even though I shoot it pretty good, it needs it. It just does. When I start sweating and it's hot out and I'm just firing off rounds or something, it starts slipping, and I put it down and I pick up something like this 23 and I'm like, oh, Talon grip's so much better. I can hold that so much better. So that's just a minor, nitpicking thing. It does come with like the older style 9mm magazines for the 23 or the 17. You can kind of see that. Just a little bit different. Good mags. The difference from the Gen 4 finish, or the Gen 4 style magazine, was they didn't have like a little metal catch in here, and it isn't cut out on both sides for reversing the mag release. I don't believe that you could do that with this firearm. But it does hold, 18 plus 1, and that's a lot of firepower, I tell you that much. One of the things that's different as far as internals on the gun go, if I could get the slide to come off, that'd be cool. As far as internals go, we'll start with the slide. Let's look at the front. So you'll notice that the 17 has the single, just straight recoil spring. It's not dual captured like the Gen 4 one is. And so that means that the sizes, they had to change something, so the sizes where the ends of the recoil springs fit into the slide is a different size. That way you can't really interchange springs like you couldn't put a Gen 4 spring on a Gen 2 or 3 gun. It just won't work. As far as like other things go in here, there's just less markings inside of the Gen 2. You can see I have in the Gen 4, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's markings like for, I don't know, parts identification or batch number in there. Nothing in here, just straight up metal. As far as the frames go, there's a discernible difference. Now, part of this difference is going to be because the guns are just different sizes. But first of all, Gen 2, no light or accessory rail here, nothing. Can't, you'd have to put something like a Crimson Trace, grip laser on it or something. It just wouldn't work. The one big difference is, like on the Glock 43, it seems like they've gone back to this style on the from the Generation 2s and 1 Glocks, is they have a flat like trigger bar here. There's no dimple on that side. It's completely just flat. Whereas, you know, in the Gen 4s, and Gen 3s don't have this either, but the Gen 4s, with except maybe the 42 and the 43, they have that dimple there, which, like I said in a previous video, I have heard is so that there's less movement, you know, there's less movement in the trigger pull. It makes it more consistent. So I take that for what it's worth. You can believe what you want. I think that it shoots fine with or without it, you know. If it shoots fine, if it works, whatever. Oh, any other differences that I can tell? Any other differences? Let's see. I mean, not really. I mean, you have beefier rails on the 17 here. That's obvious. You know, that's because it's a bigger gun. Minor differences up here where the front rails are, you can kind of see in there. It seems like these both have serial numbers on the bottom sides of the frame, but the Gen 4 Glocks have a cutout right there where I believe that this is removable. I wouldn't go putting tools in here and trying to poke it out, obviously, but I do believe that it's removable, whereas this one here, it looks like it's just in the frame. It might be removable in a way. You can kind of, let me see, you can see little holes there at the end. They might have like a tool where they can punch it out, but as far as I can tell, you can't. And one of the things that people talk about sometimes is how much of a difference that the recoil spring change from single to dual captured makes. I don't know. One thing that I've noticed is that the Gen 4s have a tougher pull than any 2 or 3 that I've seen. Some people say the difference is due to that little dimple on the trigger bar area, where it, you know, makes contact with the safety depressor safety plunger. Other people say a lot of different things. Other people say that, you know, it just has better triggers. They just say, oh, better triggers in the Gen 2s. I think that they're better for one reason, and that is because the Gen 1s and the Gen 2s, some Gen 4s that I've seen, I'm not sure why, they have a flat trigger. There are no serrations on that trigger whatsoever. The only thing that it has is the little safety dimple that's depressed when you go to pull it. The Gen 4s all have like a staggered, try to get that in focus. They all have staggered serrations here that you can Google a picture of a Gen 4, but you'll see what I'm talking about. I don't like that nearly as much. If I could, I would take the entire trigger assembly out of this gun. I probably could do that, but I'm not going to. I like it a lot better. If I could, I would take it out and put it in my Gen 4. I'm going to try to find a flat trigger for this gun that I can put in it. I like it a lot. And another thing that I've noticed, which I sort of prefer, this is controversial among some people, they might think that the Gen 2 and Gen 1 trigger is just too light. And I will tell you, let me see if I can get you an idea of what it might be like. It's nice, man. It's not as, it's a little bit mushier, I would say, but it's, in some ways, it's smoother of a take-up than the Gen 4s and the Gen 3s. And then the break, while it seemed, I don't know if it's an illusion, but it seems like it breaks a little further back. Let me see. I gotta look at this for myself. Okay, so yeah, it seems to break. It seems to break at the same point, but for some reason it feels on this gun, on the 17, like it's further back. But it also feels lighter to me, and I like it. I like it a lot. I do trigger jobs with my Glocks, but I haven't done it to this because, number one, it doesn't need it. Number two, I want to keep it original. Definitely want to keep it original. But in the shooting of this gun, I have had no malfunctions. I attribute that to the fact that this gun hasn't been shot very much and is actually in really, really good shape for its age. The only thing that I think might need to happen is it might need at some point some springs, new springs in the magazine. Now, I've had no failure to feed issues with this, the magazine in this gun, but when I take it and I put it in another gun, say for instance this is my Glock.19, this will fit, this magazine will fit. But say this was my Glock.19 and I was shooting, it would give me problems, and I would feel like the spring in it wouldn't be quite strong enough. And some of you guys might be thinking to yourselves right now, well, you're pressing against that end of that magazine because it juts out. Well, I'm actually not, because I don't shoot with my pinky. So when I shoot, I tuck my pinky behind my ring finger, and then I grab the gun, and you can see right there, I'm nowhere near that magazine at all. I just attribute it to weak springs and the fact that this 23 has, or my 19 I guess, would have really tight springs. I don't know. Could be the difference between having shooting a Gen 2 magazine and a Gen 4 gun, but in theory that should work fine. So, I don't know. Maybe at some point I'll throw some new springs in there and see what happens. But I tell you what, you know, it isn't the 17 that started it all, but you know, you can kind of feel some of the history when you pick this up in your hand. You know, it feels good. It shoots great. Probably a little bit too big for most people to carry. You know, a lot of guys will carry a full-size 17. I couldn't. But just a really nice shooter. You know, I like it a lot. And if you guys have any further... Oh, one thing that I did want to mention. Silly me. This barrel, if you can see, it only has, what markings is it? It only has the caliber stamped on the top of the slide. Let me see if I can get a better angle on that. Yeah, it only has 9x19 right there. The newer Glocks, they have the caliber, the rifling type, the Glock logo, and then, excuse me, and then AT. I'm not exactly sure what the AT means, but the 40 obviously stands for the caliber. The little polygon with a dot in the center means that it's polygonal rifling. And then the Glock logo is self-explanatory. So I think from what I've heard, Glock, if you send an older gun into them, Gen 2, Gen 1, whatever, they'll do some different replacements for the parts, like they'll change the barrel out, they'll refinish it for you, I believe, and maybe change like the firing pin and stuff, because I think they started using a little bit higher quality components in them. But my issue with that is I know for a fact if I send it into them, I don't want the finish to change, takes down the value of the gun immediately. I don't want they won't give me back the barrel. I don't want that removed, and I want the original firing pin. I want to keep this gun in its original configuration, so that's what I'm going to do. But you guys, if you see an old Glock, especially a Gen 1, they're pretty pricey, but every once in a while you can find them for a pretty good deal. Just get it. You know, it's a piece of history. It's kind of the thing that started it all. If you could find a Generation 1 Glock 17, they're awesome. I like how they, you know, they got like the almost like the real smooth texture to them. You know, one thing that you'll notice that this one even has that the Gen 3 or the Gen 4 doesn't have is a smooth, no cutouts for the fingers, and it's smooth all the way across. I kind of like that better too in a way. I don't know why. But one thing is definitely for sure, these guns are worth owning, and I really enjoy this one. And we are going to have some footage at some point. Don't quote me on when this is going to occur, but we're going to have some footage of this coming up, and we'll definitely be sure to share it with you guys, and I think you'll enjoy it. So if you have any guns that you want us to review, let us know. I hope that you're practicing, because you should be. Everybody needs to practice with what they carry and what they use for home defense. I can't stress that enough. It's not just enough to go into a shop, pick what you want, and never test it, and even if you do test it, to never go out and practice with it, because to me that's being irresponsible. You have to practice. You have to practice. You have to go shoot. You have to be familiar with the controls and the function on the firearm, however little controls that you might have, so you can be prepared in the event that you God forbid, have to use it. So just wanted to get that out there. So on a brighter note, this has been Blaze with Blazing Bullets. Please leave your comments, your feedback, anything you have to add. Please subscribe. Please tell your friends about our videos. It helps us a lot. And we just want to keep spreading the knowledge and having fun with you guys. And we've been loving this. So till next time, be safe, take it easy, go shoot, and peace.